Welcome, Spartans, to Mission Debrief. We're playing every mission in the mainline Halo video game series in chronological order, discussing our experiences and sprinkling in a little lore along the way. If you'd like to play along and have your thoughts read on the show, email us at podcastevolved@gmail.com or drop us a tweet at podcastevolved on Twitter. We'll be playing the Halo mission from Halo 3 on the next episode. This episode, we're debriefing Cortana from Halo 3.
Boo.
I'm your host.
Wow, the audience is already getting riled up.
I'm your host, Colin Perkins, alongside David Arnold.
Hello, everybody.
And Krysta Brown.
Library 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Yeah, just as fun. Last mission was the Covenant. Truth locked himself in the Ark Citadel behind a barrier protected by 3 towers. The human Sangheli Alliance conducted a coordinated attack on all of the towers, but Sergeant Johnson was captured during the mission. The barrier still fell, but the flood-infested super city High Charity dropped out of slipspace and started infecting Installation 00. Miranda tried to save Johnson, but is killed by Truth, and Johnson was forced to activate the array anyway. The Flood then offer a quick truce so that everyone can save their own hides. The Arbiter gets revenge on Truth via energy sword through the torso, and Chief stops the Halos from firing. However, the Flood still had to be dealt with. This mission, Master Chief John 117 takes it upon himself to enter High Charity and save Cortana. Our trusted but potentially rampant AI still holds the key to activating the new Halo ring, which will stop the flood infestation of the Ark. However, Gravemind, aka Gravy Poo, and countless Flood stand in our way. Fortunately, they're flammable.
I'll never eat gravy again.
I'll never look at poo the same way again.
The date of the game is December 11th, 2552. We are going to do this one a little differently because this is pretty much everybody's least favorite mission, and it's going to be a nightmare to walk through, so I'm not even going to try it. It can be fun. I feel like this mission on normal is pretty fun. Yeah. I mean, I think it's difficult, and it does a good job of portraying what you're doing. You're in the middle of High Charity, and everybody, there's just flood all around you, and it's chaotic and whatnot, and it's difficult. But as you
honestly, I mean, fighting the Flood in an environment like this is never going to be fun. So I think it's actually a good thing that people dislike this mission, because you're not supposed to be like, oh man, I'm so excited to go into the mouth of this zombie infestation and go find my friend in this very confusing environment.
Sure, it's an accurate representation of fighting through a flood-infested city.
Yeah, I would say so. And we'll talk. So what we're going to do is we're going to talk about kind of our highs and lows. I have a couple discussion points that we're going to talk through. We're not even going to cover what Gravemind and Cortana say. David will probably cover off some of that in the trivia that we do every episode. But you can read through that. But it's a bizarre thing how this mission is kind of structured and what it is, and we'll just kind of get into that. But actually walking you through is going to be a nightmare, and then reading off all of the quotes doesn't necessarily make sense, especially in order. Maybe we'll pull out some of the highlights. So what we're going to do for you today is we're going to talk about the mission Cortana, but we're just going to talk about what's good, what's bad, whether or not the flamethrower. So I have a list of questions here. So let's just kind of dive into that. Anything you guys want to touch on before we kind of start doing that? Kind of going through my outline of questions?
No.
Okay.
I think we're good.
All right. So let's just get into it. I want to start with good because I tend to look at things more positively than negatively. What actually is good of this mission, Krysta? What do you like from this mission? What did they pull off? What did they do right in Cortana?
I think the environment is really, 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 really interesting. I just had the pimples everywhere and just crazy just flesh. There's just flesh everywhere. I also tend to think that the middle cutscene, the one where you finally find Cortana, is worth it. I think it's a really good payoff for the mission. Yep. I think it's emotional. I think it's interesting. I think it really kind of brings you back to Halo 1 when you're just getting to know Cortana and, just kind of getting back into the swing of things with her.
Yeah, that feels good. So the beginning of the mission, you're flying into the city, I guess the flood infested city in your Banshee, and you land really, and then the mission starts. But Johnson does say, hey, you got to go get Cortana. And so what you're doing, but there's lots of emotions here as a player too, because this entire time, Cortana started the game. You hear her, monologue at the very beginning, and then throughout the entire game, you've been seeing these flashes, and is she okay? Is she not okay? She's yelling at you. She's referencing certain things. Is it really Cortana? There's all this stuff that's been going on that we've been talking about throughout the series. But this is the mission where you actually go and find her. So when you do, that's a really good point, Krysta, where you do go and finally get her. It's a cool moment, and there's lots of it's a classic moment, I guess.
It's a good emotional moment,
Yeah. David, anything to add kind of on the good side of this mission?
Not really. I mean,
no.
No, I mean, this mission does have a flamethrower in it, so I like flamethrowers.
That's good. We'll talk about that separately. So, yeah.
Krysta kind of nailed it. The environment is really awesome. That is a good point. They did a great job of showing what the city looks like after it's been infected by flood for some period of time, and kind of the things that Gravemind does is interesting. So, other than that, I like the fact that you can technically get through this mission in a very, very fast period of time.
Yeah,
a lot of it is skippable.
A lot of lower difficulties you can just run. So I guess that's good if you don't like fighting the flood. But it's just an interesting thing. We've talked about it, I think, before, where we continually say the flood is the most important thing of Halo, but then whether or not people like to fight the flood is another thing. And when they show up, and when you're in a flood-infested city, it's just more difficult and frustrating. But anyway, any good thing, I think, just reiterating what you guys say, it makes sense that the city would feel so disgusting and overrun, and it is so difficult, and it's pretty much just John. So you feel like it is. You're just like on this solo mission. You're this, you're the badass John 117, the luckiest Spartan there is. But it's up to you, and it's just you and countless flood. You're in their hive. It's pretty nuts. So I think they did a good job of at least making you feel that way. But whether or not they pull off an actual fun mission to play is another question.
Oh, it's definitely not fun.
Spoilers, they don't pull it off.
Yeah. So let's turn to just overall talk about what is bad or what we don't like about the mission. I'm sure there's lots of things. One of the things for me specifically, and even playing on co-op, most missions are fun on co-op, but it's just easy to get lost. You don't necessarily know the right way to go. There's one point in the mission where I think you actually have to make a jump over to another ledge, where you have to climb up to the top and jump over. That part is a big sticking point. You're like wandering around the bottom, like, how do I even get up there? And then you're just constantly going through these sphincters to the next area.
Why? What's up with the butthole doors? How did they not design that? And they're just like, that's a butthole. Like, how did this get through R&D? And it's like, we're just, what this level needs? Buttholes. Buttholes everywhere. You know what? You're going to go into the buttholes, too. When you get through the buttholes, there's going to be a crazy cutscene. It's just like, why are there buttholes everywhere?
I mean, it's organic.
And that's what everyone says when they play this mission, too. I don't think I've ever encountered a person who's first seen that door and been like, is that a butthole? It's just like,
I mean, how else do you create an organic door? I mean, it's a sphincter. That's what it is.
It's got to be a butthole, yeah. I guess so. You know what? What's a door? What's the most door-like thing on your body? A butt. Your butt.
Oh, God.
Yeah, it totally makes sense.
Yeah. So my biggest frustration, I guess, is just kind of getting lost. David, kind of anything to add to the frustration pile?
No. I don't. You guys are covered.
No, you just don't even want to talk about this mission, do you?
No, I mean, so the most interesting things I've learned about this mission is the fact that this mission shouldn't exist at all, and that's like, oh my god, tell me all about that. But in terms of the frustration, the design is obviously not great. It's not a fun mission to play through, but the emotional payoff is probably the only thing that's really worth doing this level for that one cutscene.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
I'm still slightly disappointed that you never see the Gravemind in Halo 3.
Yeah, I was thinking that too. Playing it again. Especially after we got the remastered version in Halo 2.
I mean, and the thing is, like, you could defeat the Gravemind in its current form because it would just reform somewhere else. The Gravemind can just do that. Mm-hmm. Like, even if you kill its, like, weird plant thing body, I mean, it would still just reform somewhere else.
Right.
Because that's literally what happens in the, spoilers, in the next mission. Mm-hmm. It literally just reforms somewhere else. It even says that, oh, the Gravemind's reforming here. Oh, that's terrible. Mm-hmm. It's like, why couldn't we have defeated the Gravemind in some way with a cool battle?
Yeah, that's a good point.
Or at least a cutscene with him.
Right. The moments that we've been talking about, there's more Cortana moments and more Gravemind moments.
So annoying. They're every 5 minutes. Like, I played through the mission on normal first just to get the gist, and at that point I'm like, oh, this is cool. And now I'm playing it through on Legendary because I hate myself, and I thought it would be kind of fun to like talk about it in the salty I'm playing it on Legendary perspective. But on Legendary, it totally throws you off. Like, you know, you get into the mode, you get into this kind of like, this is what I need to do. I mean, I'm kind of hiding a little bit and stuff like that, and it totally just throws off your flow. Yeah, it's just really invasive.
I mean, if you listen, I mean, you really have to play with subtitles on to really understand completely what the Gravemind's saying too. And
the filter on him is weird.
Yeah, he sounds huge, I guess, and it's I mean, they went with the decision, and that's kind of what they went with, but he's yelling at you and you can't do anything along the way, and you have to listen to what he says, and you just have to kind of like pause and take it in.
You literally have to stop. Yeah. Like, even if you walk forward, you're only getting like 2 or 3 steps in. Mm-hmm. Which I think if it slowed you down just a little bit, like, you could still get through, because these only come in empty rooms. So if at least you could get to the end of the room by the time the cutscene's over, that would be nice. Because I remember one of them, you like jump out of a butthole, and then you just go to the butthole down a hall. But you have to sit and wait for the cutscene to be done until you can get to the other butthole. It's like... It's like, oh, I just want to be at the butthole when this cutscene stops.
Yeah.
Well, some of the more interesting ones I've kind of broken out here. So, one of Cortana's lines is, there will be no more sadness, no more anger, no more envy. It appears to be a reference to Marathon's stages of rampancy, melancholia, anger, and jealousy, respectively. So, we've kind of mentioned before, like, Marathon is Bungie's other game, and it has, like, obviously it has it's like one of their older game series and has a bunch of like AI references and stuff like that, and a lot of that seems to have carried over into Halo. The line, "It's the coin's fault," is a reference to the factor that brought John 117 into the Spartan program. He identified the side of a 20th century quarter owned by Dr. Halsey and was about to hit the ground before it did in Halo: The Fall of Reach. So that was kind of one of the things of John being lucky. The Gravemind uses a line from Halo 2. "We exist together now, 2 corpses in 1 grave." This line is referring to Cortana and reference to the Prophet of Mercy in Halo 2. This line was said in the level High Charity. There's a line, "Just keep your head down. There's 2 of us in here now. Remember?" There's a reference to Halo Combat Evolved, the first game, and Pillar of Autumn when you first get Cortana. When the player's shield is completely depleted, she would say this. It would be more urgent tone. So that's kind of the lines that I noticed. If you guys have any in your head.
Sorry, I just want to mention, because you were talking about the luck factor, is that is portrayed too in the reuniting of Cortana and Master Chief, because he brings it up. She says, what'd she say? Oh, he says, you know, when I make a promise, then she kind of perks up. She says, "You keep it," and she says, "I do know how to pick them," because that was referenced at the very beginning of the game.
Yeah.
And then he says, "Lucky me," which again, you know, that's the whole luck factor that we've talked about in the past with him. So.
Well, and also the promise has to do with the very end of Halo 2 when he says, you know, "I'm gonna come back for you," and she's, "Don't make a girl a promise."
You can't keep it. Yeah. Which is great. And then obviously that cutscene itself is pretty great, where the reunion of John and Cortana, where he like breaks into the stasis field where she's being kept, which is, funnily enough, supposed to be the room that you first teleport into in High Charity. back in Halo 2. Like the inner sanctum. It's that room apparently, or designed very similarly to it. There is that cutscene. It's just awesome. Pretty much where Cortana's all broken and tortured. You don't really know the extent of it here, but it's actually captured in Human Weakness, which is a short story, which tells what happened in the period of time between Halo 2 and 3.
Some bad shit.
Yeah, it's really bad. So it kind of.
So she's been here. So it's December 11th, and she's been with him since November. Or no, it's been October. Since October. So she's been with him for a couple months now, chatting, hanging out with Gravemind. So that's a long time from an AI perspective.
And it wasn't really conversations. It was pretty much torture.
Yeah.
So that was pretty horrible. But anyway, you rescue her and take her on board. What I will mention is that in that room, like right after you do grab her, I didn't know this existed, right? But there is another skull. You get it on a ledge-like structure. It's purple and kind of bulbous at the end. Overhead, the player exits the hallway that leads to Cortana. To get it,
There's another skull?
Yeah.
Right there? Oh, I didn't miss that one.
It's not a skull, which is interesting.
Oh, okay.
In order to get it, you have to have the deployable cover. You deploy it on the ground directly in front of the edge of the roof. Jump onto the deployed cover and crouch jump onto the roof. One may also partner jump on grenade jump if you're any good at it. Once on the roof, locate the skull towards the apex of the angled roof and get the skull. Please note the skull has no affiliation with the 13 required skull list, and if carried for the rest of the level, Master Chief will start the next level with a Spartan laser. It'll only which is weird, isn't it?
What?
No
That
way.
is so cool.
That's
never not worth it, but it's so cool.
Yeah, thought that was interesting.
So you have to carry. I guess you don't only play it on easy or maybe normal. You're carrying that skull throughout the.
But
rest
that
of
means
it.
you have to play easy or normal on the next mission too.
Yeah, exactly. Interesting.
Which I mean, the Spartan laser would only be helpful if you're playing it on a higher difficulty.
True.
Because it's good to have that firepower.
Speaking of skulls, there is a skull in this mission. You do have to. There's like a room where I don't know. You know the room that it's in. You have to do some jumping up on kind of the sides of the.
It's the one where
room.
you have to jump over the gap to get to the butthole, right?
Nope.
No, it's before then. Yeah, it's before then. It's the same room that the Cortana terminal is in. So the Cortana terminal is like down below, and you go hit that button, and it's not what she says. It's not super great. I don't think. I don't remember what it is off the top of my head, but that terminal is fine. It's just there. It's not one of the 7 main terminals, but she'll talk to you if you do hit that button.
She even when you enter the room, you also hear her. It's pretty much the dialogue of Halsey when she first meets John. Hello there. What's your name? Oh, do you like games? I can play a game. And then when you activate it, she says it's the coin's fault. I wanted to keep you safe. Yeah, I wanted to keep you protected. Wanted to keep you safe. Wanted to make you strong. Okay. And that's pretty much it. It's interesting when you approach the terminal, you see like flashes of Cortana and stuff, which I think is interesting.
Yeah. And then what you do is you go up to the very top of that room, and then there's the skull on top of there. And I wrote it down. Let me get back to my notes. What skull is it? It's the tilt skull, which I didn't write down what it was. So it's the tilt skull. Good old tilt skull.
Yay!
Yeah. Get it in Cortana.
Tilt changes the weaknesses to strengths and strengths to weaknesses. So if an enemy is weak to plasma weapons, it's now strong against it, but weak against the opposite. It's an awkward skull to use.
Weird. All right. Let's see here. What else should we cover off on? So we've kind of covered off on good, bad, some cutscene stuff. You mentioned that one room you can kind of tell that it's the inner sanctum where you get her in High Charity from Halo 2, so there's that going on, and you do see kind of like some purple and stuff along the way. So you can like, just talking about kind of general mission design or aesthetic. It is this big, gross flood infested area, but then you can see the kind of the Covenant purple here and there, and kind of make out. It'd been interesting to hear like how they actually designed this and how they went about it. But it's more or less a mess. From a level of design perspective, it's just all over the place. Let's talk about the flamethrower.
Ooh, I like the flamethrower.
I didn't really like the flamethrower. I was playing a heroic, and you're too plotting for me to. I mean, and maybe I wasn't as accurate as you need to be. But there's 2 flamethrowers. There's flamethrower towards the beginning of the mission, right up by the Pelican. You kind of go up to the top there, and there's a pelican, and you can hear Cortana talking in that pelican up there. But you can grab a flamethrower there, and then there's another flamethrower kind of halfway through.
Also, that flamethrower also has Cortana dialogue on it.
Yeah, that's right.
She's like, "Don't listen to me." She like whispers at you, and you know, if you go towards her voice, it leads you right to the flamethrower, which is interesting.
So tell me your flamethrower strategy, David. How are you using it?
Talked to the death, really, I'm sure, and when we were talking about ODST. But I'm pretty damn good with the flamethrower, especially when it comes to conserving the fuel. So I pretty much don't pay and spray. I kind of very short control bursts. Once an enemy's on fire, I move on to the next one. It can be difficult because it doesn't have that much stopping power, so if an enemy's on fire, it'll still attack you. So shooting it again doesn't really increase the damage that much to it. You just gotta kind of let them burn. But once you hit them with it, they're dead, like, you know what I mean? So it's great that way, and obviously it cleans up infection forms, and it's very good against the pure forms in this mission, which are infuriating.
Oh, it's so good.
So,
you just need a little burst and they're dead.
Yeah.
It's so great against them.
I feel like I hit them a little bit, and they started on fire, but then for the pure form specifically, then they didn't die right away. So, I don't know, maybe I was just feathering it too much. I don't know.
You got to see them on fire after you stop hitting the trigger, and then they'll die. You have to physically see the enemy on fire to know that you hit them.
Krysta, anything else to add? I guess from like so when you pick it up, Krysta, are you picking up the first one? You pick up the second one? Are you taking it as far as you can go? Or...
I took it all the way to the Cortana room.
You did? Oh, okay.
Yeah. So honestly, what my overall I guess, can we just marry this with the strategy question right after this? Okay. So the overall strategy for me for this mission, on normal, I carried the rocket launcher all the way to the end for those charges. And I carried the shotgun with me. And then when I wanted to, I just put down the weapons don't despawn like in Halo 4. So if you put the flamethrower down somewhere, it's still going to be there when you go back. So I just put weapons down and then just do whatever I need to do and then pick them back up.
Gotcha. Because you can't use that for the long range stuff. And
No. Yeah. So, on, like, when the turrets would pin you down, I would just grab a carbine, drop my shotgun, kill the turret, pick back up my shotgun, and move forward.
What's the best way to kill those turret form flood guys? Do they have a headshot area, or is it just pounding them full of lead?
You literally, like, I'm playing this on Legendary right now, too, because I hate myself. But, literally what you have to do, especially on Legendary, because they pin you down, you just pick up your carbine, you shoot them until they, like, curl up, you reload, and then when they come back, you just shoot them. You have to do that, like, 3 times, and then they'll die.
But you have to shoot them at a specific weak point, don't you?
No, you just shoot them when they're open.
Oh, okay.
The pure flood forms don't have a weakness.
I see.
None of them have a weakness unless it's fire, but the turrets are all up on the ceiling and stuff, so you can't get them anyway.
They normally die when you plasma grenade them. If you sticky grenade them, you might get them in one.
Yeah,
but again,
they do die from one sticky grenade, but sometimes it can be hard. And then you have to get really close to them, and on Legendary, there's like 20 of them, and they won't move. They'll just sit there and fire at you, so you literally have to just pick them off one by one. It's really annoying. But, I mean... The turrets are the worst. I can deal the crab thing and the tank super easy because they get close to you.
Right.
But the turrets, they're way too far away to deal with.
And there's a lot of them. So many.
There's so many. They'll pin you down. So what you literally have to do is make it so you can only see one of them, shoot it till it's dead, and then move on to the next one.
Yeah. Oof.
Not fun.
Yeah, Legendary is not good. Not good.
Yeah, Legendary, I carried a shotgun and a carbine. And then the flamethrower, and you just throw the flamethrower down when you're shooting at the turrets.
Can you hit them with one of those grenades?
Yes, you can.
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Those are super effective as well. But at the same time, it's aiming, and then you have to get close to them to be in range to throw that. And usually, on the harder difficulties, you're way in the back of the room trying to take everything out and then move into the room.
I mean,
it's literally just trigger the spawn point and then move all the way back is what I do.
Yeah. There were I was playing in Heroics. There's a couple points where I could run through, and I did when I could, but I would find out that quickly I'd get overwhelmed or get shot in the back by those guys. But on normal, you can pretty much run through this whole mission, right? Like
normal,
pretty much what I did.
and easy, yeah.
Yeah,
You don't have to actually play the mission if you don't want to.
just in and out.
Which I would imagine, like, that would probably, canonically, Chief probably mostly ran, I would think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that's a good point. Any other strategies to include, David?
Run.
Just run.
Yeah.
There's some camo and stuff like that, and throughout the mission, so you can grab up things like that and just keep running. I pick up a sword and pretty much keep it as long as I can. There's a few of them around.
Oh, there's a lot of them. A lot of the crates have them too.
Yeah. There are a couple quiet moments here and there. Like you said, Krysta, when you're kind of going through door to door, there's a couple corridors that just don't have anything in them. So I think that's needed, and I would imagine 343 realized that. It can't be all chaos. You need to add, there needs to be a couple spots where you catch your breath. But yeah, it's best just to run as much as possible. Again, especially on the mid to lower difficulties.
Also, always have something splodey for the very end of the mission.
Yes.
When you gotta get the reactors. Like, don't bother just regularly shooting them. Just get something splodey like a rocket, and you're pretty much 1, 2, 3 done.
Yeah, brute shot or grenades are good for that. That's what I used.
Mm-hmm. I did pick up some swords along the way too, because swords are always good.
Oh, definitely
against the flood. So, and I feel like there's quite a few of them on the mission. So whenever I saw a sword, I would definitely grab that.
See, I always go for the shotgun because I don't like being that close to the flood. Because the sword, you have to lunge and get really close to the horde. So I would usually do the shotgun because I can stand back a bit and kind of kite them around.
Yeah. Maybe we just talk about, the end there. So once again, we're gonna just blow it up, right? Blow up High Charity, and you pretty much after the room that you are with Cortana, you just kind of go back to that. There's that center room with all the bridges, and you hit the button, and that kind of exposes 3 different reactors. And you just, I actually wasn't having. It took a long time for me to take one out, just shooting. I think it was with a carbine. But it's best, like you said, Krysta, is to use a grenade or something that explodes to take those things out. Otherwise, you'll be shooting at those for a while. So, you blow that up, and then, the chain reaction starts, and then you just have to run. So speaking of something good of the mission, it is fun when you meet up with the Arbiter at the end, right?
Yeah,
That's
and
cool.
Cortana says, like, who would be crazy enough to come in here? There's a friendly signature. It's kind of fun.
Yeah. So once you get kind of towards the end, and that pelican that you saw at the beginning of the mission, that's useful because you're going to go back to that pelican, and you see the Arbiter at the top of this, massive flood, and he's got the flamethrower. It feels good, and he's doing his business. You don't really get to fight with him that much, but it's fun to see an ally with you, a familiar face, right before you hop on the pelican and get GTFO.
And Cortana remarks, she's like, you guys made friends? What else did I miss? What's going on here?
Yep. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Can we talk about the beginning and the end cutscenes and how weird they are? Because it's literally like a piece of concept art that they have like a pelican animated over.
Yeah. That's kind of weak. Okay, we might as well get into it since we're here. So they've 2 static pieces of art essentially that they just kind of it's the opposite of superimposed, just put in the background.
Just copy pasted right under there.
Yeah, so apparently this mission as it exists right now, it didn't exist originally in the game. There was a completely different mission. So the original idea for the level of Cortana was entirely scratched. Originally the level had a proper High Charity geometry, completely different to the geometry seen inside the flood-infested cruiser in Floodgate. The player had to follow Cortana's footprints to know where to go. As to why Cortana would be able to leave such footprints, Bungie designer Dan Miller likened the situation to her mysterious appearance in the closing cutscene of The Covenant. Once Cortana was rescued, the player was to encounter a scarab with its damaged hind legs. Chief would have to insert Cortana so she could take control of it. Then the grave mind would appear, and a battle between him and Cortana's scarab would ensue. Chief would have to hold position on the scarab by fending off invading flood forms and shooting off the grave mind's tentacles that would try and latch on to the scarab. Eventually, the entire level, including the specific High Charity geometry, had to be cut from the game's development, which is crazy, which sounds awesome.
That would have been amazing.
It's so
Wouldn't it
cool.
just?
That's such a disappointment to
Yeah.
hear about that, just because it's like it's something we'll never get.
No. And as a replacement for the deleted Cortana level, Floodgate was split into 2 distinct levels, the latter part of the mission becoming the new Cortana level. Thus, the geometry released Cortana level is the same as one of the Floodgate. There is no unique high charity geometry really in the final game. The second part of the Floodgate is now the final and isn't the new and final Cortana level. This was acknowledged by Bungie as being a bad mission as it did not have its own level designer.
Even Bungie thought it was bad. Though. Yeah.
Isn't that mental?
That's crazy.
That really sucks.
Yeah.
Just because, like, the Gravemind is such a cool character, and Cortana is such an important character, that the way they handled it through this is just, like, just having the Gravemind scream at you and then Cortana go, I'm crying and sad.
Yeah.
It's just, like, so lame.
But it kind of makes sense thinking that was supposed to be in an earlier part of the game. That's not even supposed to be here because you're supposed to be on imagine a cruiser, that infected cruiser that crashed. If you remember
Yeah.
Floodgate. So,
Oh, right, yeah.
so that sequence was supposed to be longer of you fighting through the ship. That's not actually supposed to be high charity you're fighting through, which kind of makes sense.
So this is all just,
Ripped
the cruiser was supposed to be a big mission, so
Yeah.
this was all replaced. This is all just the cruiser mission.
They just chopped that mission in half, left Floodgate where it ends, where you get like the Cortana signal, the fake Cortana. Gives it a message as opposed to actually fighting through to the end of this mission and then finding Cortana. Well, obviously you find Cortana in one way or the other, but isn't that crazy?
makes
And
sense,
that's why the Floodgate, like, Cortana scene was so weird, because you're just in this room, and it's like, there's nothing to do in here, it's just the Cortana thing.
Yeah.
There's not even any flood here.
Isn't that crazy?
I'm so sad.
Also, the mausoleum of the Arbiter apparently can be seen in the distance when standing near the crashed Pelican. This and the Prophet's Inner Sanctum are essentially the only recognizable features of High Charity in Halo 2 that can be seen in Halo 3. One can see in the Bungie feature called Flood Autopsy that they had originally planned to have the Flood reanimate all the Arbiter corpses in the room, creating an Arbiter army for the player to fight.
That would be fucking amazing. Oh my god, that would have been great.
Like I said, the best thing about this mission is all the stuff that it's not supposed to actually exist.
Yeah, like, oh my god, that would be so cool. It would be a mission akin to the Covenant. Like, this big battle, there are a bunch of, like, big set pieces that you get to go through and see, and then you get a really nice ending cutscene that kind of wraps everything up, and a cool battle.
Wow.
It's just, like, it's such a shame.
Yep. Bummer.
The other kind of bummer is that ending cutscene. It seems like the tentacle of the Gravemind just kind of lets the Pelican go.
Yeah.
It's so lazy. It's like, I don't feel like
Will I grab them? No. And then it tries to grab them again at the end, and they just kind of boost off. So
Yeah.
it's kind of lame.
Yep, totally agree.
The very last piece of trivia, and I think then we can kind of move on, as you guys have anything more to add. Very last thing is, the achievement for gaining over 15,000 points, i.e. the par score on this level, is entitled Orpheus. This is a reference to the ancient Greek mythology in which a Greek hero, Orpheus, ventures into the depths of hell to retrieve the one he loves. This is easily compared to Chief's mission, to venture to hell and get Cortana.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Isn't that
that's
cool?
nice. I like that.
All right, better or worse than the library? David, would you rather play the library on Legendary, or would you rather play Cortana on Legendary?
I think because you can speedrun this mission, it might be better. Like, this mission will probably be technically shorter than the library. I've played the library a lot, and there is some enjoyment to be had there, so I think this mission is worse because of just how much I hate the pure forms.
Yeah, sure. Krysta?
I like Cortana better just because it doesn't have infinite spawn points. Because those infinite spawn points literally make me a crazy person on the library. Also, just if you're playing in old graphics, the library is just literally no. How about no? Can we not? Please no.
Yeah, we talk about getting lost, right? The
Oh my
library.
god. Like, they had to... The level design for the library was so difficult that when they remastered it, they had to put arrows on the floor to tell us where we're going.
Yeah.
It's like when they remastered the Water Temple in Ocarina of Time and they had arrows telling you where to go there. It's like, it's so bad.
Yeah, and you don't have weren't there the rocket flood in that mission too?
Yes, the rocket flood that will always hit you.
Man, I feel like we did do the same thing on the library. We didn't do a walkthrough. We just kind of talked about it.
Well, we had a little more dialogue options to talk about with 343 because he said some interesting stuff.
That's true. I don't know.
Also,
I mean, I feel like Cortana's a bigger pain in the ass, though, like just a difficulty-wise. I don't know. I think I'd rather play the library. I don't know why.
No, I'm still pretty firm. I feel like the Flood are easier to deal with in Halo 3 just because they have weak points. Except for the pure forms, they have weak points. They're easier to kill. You can destroy the bodies so they don't get reanimated. I feel like the Halo CE Flood are literally bullet sponges. Like, you just have to hit them a certain amount and then they'll die. But I feel like you can be a little more tactical with the Halo 3 Flood.
All right. Is that it?
That's it.
Oh, God.
Okay. We will leave you. I did post a community question. I at least want you to read it. So, David,
My God,
what did
Colin.
I post?
So, Colin Perkins, yesterday at 7:50 p.m. The Cortana mission from Halo 3 on Legendary. Give me your feelings. And as you can imagine, I'm not going...
Give.
No, GIF. So I cannot describe GIFs.
You
Because it
can.
doesn't make sense. No, it doesn't. There's actually some pretty good ones in the Facebook group. So Andy Worth put a crazy repeating thing that's just mesmerizing.
It's a smoke cloud.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. Just read through it as fast as you can. Colin gave it out to James for writing, not a GIF. Whatever. Timothy Welsh put like last case of emotion from Anchorman in there. It's pretty funny. James Whitmarsh has I Miss My Wife. You have Joss Riggle has a crazy one of obviously some crazy car driving up a road, immediately doing a 3-point turn and a flood, an actual flood. Smashing
water
through on
and
the
like a
debris.
house.
A house
like...
falls through. It's crazy. It's insane. There's some good stuff by Joss Bell, Silver Pitt. Tyler Nelson has a crazy baby flood thingy. I don't know what the hell that is. It's mental.
That was weird.
Burn Them All from James. Lucas Fitzer has a panda smashing a thing apart. Keyboard, I don't know, it's craziness. Tyler Mordecai finally revs up with Barney from How I Met Your Mother, just saying, why? There you go. Done. GIFs in audio format.
Krysta, I think only a couple of people commented on Discord.
And we got a bunch of stuff on Twitter. So
I did
follow
Twitter
us on
too.
Twitter. Follow us on Twitter, and you can look at all the beautiful GIFs, and I don't have to describe them to you like some kind of crazy person. But Silver is giving us some shade, because Silver is from the Halo Completionist, and he does the Conversationalist podcast, Halo Conversationalist, and he says that Sierra 117, the Ark, and the Covenant are way more difficult than Cortana, and that the hate is unwarranted. Whoa. How dare you, sir?
Interesting.
Have you played
He's
Cortana?
allowed to be wrong. It's fine.
Well, Silver also has every single Halo achievement ever.
Wow.
I believe it's Silver. So I believe he also is a crazy person. So sure. I don't think we should even look at this comment as as legitimate, because to get all of the achievements in Master Chief Collection, you have to play Legendary Skulls On every single Halo campaign twice.
That's horrible.
So
oh my god.
Fair play to him.
So I think he's a crazy person. So we probably shouldn't entertain that notion at all. So
he's not crazy. He's just bored. He's got a lot of time on his hands.
Oh my goodness! Like, lassos are fun, but oh my god, I wouldn't want to do them twice.
Oh boy. No. Yeah. No. All right, let's get out of here. Enough of this. Let's go finish.
Enough of this. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Let's talk about Halo.
Yeah, Halo. Speaking of, and I'll probably comment next mission, the last, once you're on the Ark, all these missions, the names of these missions, the Ark, the Covenant, Cortana, and then Halo. It's just like pretty easy, right, for them to name those, but they're very relevant. Like the naming of these missions at the end of Halo 3 is very iconic and very pointed. It's good.
Isn't there another mission called Halo?
There might be.
There is.
It's the second mission of CE.
That's right.
And we'll kind of get into more of that and how beautiful that is in the next episode.
Absolutely. All right, that'll do it for a debriefing of the Covenant. Oh, not the Covenant, Cortana.
Well, let's go back to the Covenant, please. No. That was a fun mission.
Yeah, Cortana mission from Halo 3. On the next episode, we'll be covering Halo. Send us your thoughts at podcastevolved@gmail.com or drop us a tweet at podcastevolved on Twitter. Until next time, evolved.
Evolved.
Evolved.